Hyundai has launched the internal combustion engine version of their second generation Kona. The hybrid and all-electric vehicles will come later. The exterior design is basically the same for each model, and it is a defining feature of the vehicle. Back in 2017, Hyundai launched their small SUV, the Kona, and it had a very distinctive look. And in some ways it pioneered a trend that Hyundai has continued now for some time of distinctively different looking vehicles, not just in terms of the opposition, but even within its own fleet. It is not just one design style with slightly different grilles. It went on to things like the Ioniq 5, which has a lot of straight lines and squarish look, but it doesn't look boring and boxy. In fact, it has that look of a small hot hatch, even though it's a medium-sized SUV. I like it a lot. They've then bucked the trend of modern design with their Ioniq 6. Now, if you look at that from the side, it is a very arched look, quite different. But they haven't given up on other cars, such as the internal combustion engine. If you look at their i30 sedan, a wonderful package of design, not just throwing together a few extra lines and creases and a bit of modern bling. I think they're really pushing the envelope. And now they've done their second generation of the Kona small SUV. Again, it pushes that envelope, and it's really worth looking at in more detail. Let's do that now. At the launch of the first Kona in Australia, it's significant that Hyundai bought out from the US Kevin Teng, the creative manager for Hyundai Design in North America. After his presentation, we spoke to him about the thinking behind the more significant design features of Hyundai's first foray into the small SUV market. We will have a link to our video of the launch of the first Kona in Australia at the end of the presentation. You talked about having almost two characters to it. What were they?
So we tried to really fuse like this high-tech sleekness on the top of the vehicle with this kind of an active, adventurous character down below, especially around the cladding. So it's kind of a mix of best of two attributes into one design.
And that one attribute might be I'm taking it around the city, and the other is
outdoors. Like where we are right now, I think is a perfect example. The gravel roads, the back doors where we just drove this morning, the outbacks of Australia is a perfect place for this to go off-roading.
One of the big changes in cars is the front of them. We're entering a post-grille position with electric vehicles, but this, of course, is not just an electric vehicle. This is the internal combustion engine. And the front of it is very distinctive in its design, and I think the strip light across here is most prominent. It's interesting, it's still got the grille, which has a bit of features to it. It looks almost a little bit of transformer there. Lights that are down the side. Overall, I think it's a good package moving towards electric vehicles, and it's one that you can recognize even at night. From the side, I've talked about car design where sometimes we go over the top with creases and angles. This is a bit stronger in this second generation of the Kona small SUV than its previous model, but I don't think it's over the top. It does give a wedge shape to this line here. There's a little bit of clever engineering where you have a crease in here and a protrusion here, and they merge without getting crinkly. I think that's extremely clever. From the side, you notice that we've got new rims, and that's quite typical of the time. But gee, aren't they complex? Not just the old 5 spokes that you and I may have grown up with. One other thing about it is the bit over the wheels here is the same colour. Some of them have the option where it is a darker colour. I think that's a bit over the top. I quite like it as a simple factors have got it there now. The back of the vehicle is the most polarising design feature. The first model had the seeds of this next step in the second generation.
I think in the case of Kona, we try to make it advanced enough, but not too crazy. So I think we feel that the balance of the rear end is really well done.
These thin lights at the top, if they were only those, that it would look a bit out of proportion, I think. You've added a bit more stronger elements down here.
The idea for the rear of the car is to really reflect what we were trying to do in the front. We have very thin taillights, like you say, but the idea of the fender cladding hugging around to the back of the car and suggesting this is the lower lighting element of the car is actually the one you see in the front. So it ties in together, and that's very important in designing the exterior of the car. Does the rear match the front? And that's what we have here.
The back of the car, that makes me think quite a bit. It's not hugely overt design features that I find interesting. It's this slightly extended bit here, and the fact that it then indents here makes this part look a little bit like a lady's bustle is sticking out. It looks like it's there for function to give room, which is a fine idea. The lights down this low, I think, as the overall package, I think is going to produce a either like it or not like it approach. It gives me the impression of some of the older cars that, as I say, were designed for function to fit space into. In conclusion then, so far in 2023, before the new model has had an impact, the Kona is in 7th place in the small SUV segment. Hyundai say that in part there has been supply problems. Will the new model turn that around? The front and side are good examples of emerging trends, but the rear will get polarising comments. But capturing sales in this very competitive part of the market is also swung on features and performance, which we will cover in other videos.